Hey legends, welcome to another week of the Virtus Performance Podcast. First of all, I want to thank you all for being beautiful people and spending a little bit of time of your day at this busy time of year listening to me talk rubbish. Fortunately, I'm only going to be talking rubbish for the next 90 seconds or so, and then we'll get the wonderful guest for today introduced and into your ears so you don't have to listen to me, which is a big win. Before we get stuck in though, I'd like to thank all of you guys for listening. If you've been enjoying the podcast, please write a review. Take a few minutes out of your day. I really want to spend the next kind of 6-12 months growing this thing and growing the amount of people listening. It's been pretty hectic to see how many people have listened over the last year and a half. But I think the conversations we're having and the way we're bringing a lot of these topics into the front of our vision is truly going to help us make the world a better place, which is kind of the whole idea of this thing. It's a chance to have a conversation and to connect with each other in a slightly different way. Today's episode is very much about that. It's about connecting. It's about having a conversation. It's about learning a little bit about yourself, learning a lot about yourself, actually. Today's guest is Franks Martin. Now, I don't want to ruin the surprise. She definitely articulates her why and her hopes and dreams and desires much better than I ever could. So rather than me talk about her before we dive into the podcast, I'm going to read one of my favorite poems from her book Anatomy, which is available to purchase on her website. You should get around that. I bought 2. Here it goes. Permission to be who I am is the greatest gift I ever gave myself. It is endless. Now time for Franks. My personal and business goal is to be just a little bit better every day. I believe everyone, especially normal people, have a story to tell. The Virtus podcast exists to help us all find small ways of consistent improvement by discussing the journey and experiences of each of our guests. Franks?
Hello.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
You're having me, I think.
I know, thank you for coming to Elwood.
Thanks for hosting. First question for you. What gets you out of bed in the morning?
I genuinely love my life. And that sounds really cheesy. And that is not discounting the fact that sometimes life is a bit, mundane, shitty. This is life.
Yeah.
Can I swear?
Oh, you can say whatever the fuck you want. By all means,
okay,
swear
good.
as much as you
want.
want.
Alright, I've got the green light. No, I genuinely love my life, and by that I mean, I don't mean to sugarcoat it. I mean, there's been good times, there's been bad times.
Yeah.
But the people around me, in my community, the people that I have in my daily life, the things that I do just really fill me up. And I get really tired sometimes, and I always joke with people that when they say, how are you, I'm good, but I'm tired, and I just think that is a sign of a good life. It's,
because when you're always tired, you're always like pushing for that next thing and looking for the next thing and finding that next experience. And
I do think there is balance, and I am a bugger for burning out, but I burn out doing the things that I love. And when I'm tired and my head hits the pillow at the end of the day, it's with a smile on my face often. And there has been times when it hasn't been this light and I haven't felt as grateful and things haven't been as good, and I think that I would like to acknowledge that and honour that and appreciate that, because it does mean when you've been through those times, that the times when you just wake up in a good mood, you are so appreciative of that, and I really do try to honour that in my everyday life. And I'm only human, so sometimes I wake up and the honest truth is that it is my alarm that gets me out of bed in the morning and the snooze button. But most of the time it's because I genuinely love my life, and even the things that I do that aren't quite as exciting as writing and yoga and I love the people in my life.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think I've worked hard to create a life that I love.
I think that's an important, I guess, way to look at it. You've worked hard to create that life of gratitude. Has that gratitude always come easily?
Absolutely not. No. I think I spent a lot of time growing up that life is happening to me and not for me. And, I'm human, so that does happen occasionally too. When you get 2 or 3 bad things happen in one day and you're like, oh God, what is happening? But it's not always come that easy, but I believe, like with most things, it is a practice and it is mindset, and we all have a choice, and I think I write about that quite a lot, and that's empowerment to me, is like we all have a choice to think well, not necessarily good and positive, but think well and kind of monitor the health of our thoughts and realise, is this a situation that I'm honestly grateful for, or is this a situation that I need to say, oh, I'm really pissed off with this right now, I don't know what it's teaching me, but eventually I will be grateful for it. So, and
those lessons that come from like the pain and suffering and the hard times, like they're the ones that when we look back we can kind of appreciate them for what they are, but when we're living them it's so hard to actually get out of our bubble.
Yeah, I think that's a good word for it, bubble. I think sometimes you think that you're the only person in the world that these things are happening to, and I think that is what I am most passionate about with my writing. I really want people to feel less alone. I have struggled with mental health issues in my past, anxiety, depression, and I think the key factor of my healing of that, not to say that it can be healed fully, but I think that knowing that I wasn't alone and just knowing that other people were going through the same things, and I think even if people read my words and think, oh, me too, I think that is such a powerful thing, that community and that connection.
When you are going through, or when you do go through those times, do you have, I guess, go-to in terms of the words that you want to read? Obviously your expression of your writing's a big part of your own healing, but is there other people's writings or other people's words that you go to?
Absolutely. Brené Brown, I think everyone knows and loves Brené Brown at the minute, but she truly has the most charismatic and honest and authentic way of portraying that, giving her knowledge but not saying I'm up here and you're down here. She's like, we're all in this together, and I think that that's all that anyone needs to hear, is that no one's better than anyone, that we're all actually in it together and no one gets out alive. I mean, you could look at that as a good or as bad. It just means make the most of the time that you've got. And in terms of poetry, there's so many poets that inspire me. Rupi Kaur, obviously, she's incredible. There's a poet called Nikita Gill. She is absolutely incredible. She writes with fire. Another poet called Yana Robinson, who's based in California. They're amazing, and they just pop up with the words that I need to read, and they spark a fire. And I'm like, I hear you girls, I hear you, you strong women.
I like that. Have you always been a writer?
I always have. It's funny, somebody asked me that the other day, and if you'd have asked me a few years ago, I would have said no, but the truth is I started to write poetry when I was 6. Maybe even earlier. I was such a bookworm. I would always write poetry, but I was a bit of a nerd at school, which now I'm proud of, but at the time I was very awkward, very shy, always had my head in a book, was always writing something. And I think, although I haven't had the title of a job that says writer, I've always written, whether that's for creativity or to process my thoughts. And I think the things that we do when we're a kid are a really, really big clue of what we could be doing.
I was having this conversation with a friend the other day about how much we underestimate what we do and experience as children, how much it affects us now, and how much it moulds and creates who we are. And I think all we have to do is look back to what we did for fun when we were little, and that's kind of like our truest expression of
Absolutely.
who we are.
I 100% agree with that, and I think we forget. I think it's not a case of discovering, I think it's more rediscovering, because I think that was probably the question that sparked me into writing poems like in my adult life. It was, what did you do as a kid that you enjoyed? And I remember I pulled like a tarot card or something, and it had like a pen and a paper on it, and I was like, I'll draw. and then I would draw, but then I would get caught in this, all of these words would come, and then I would end up writing, and then I realised, oh, okay, well, maybe if it's not drawing, it's writing, and it's just sometimes that one creative thing can lead to another, and you just have to remember or rediscover.
Yeah, and just start pulling at the string and kind of see where it goes.
I think creativity it's not lots of different things. I think we are creative by default as humans. We create, and I speak a lot about that in my classes that I teach. I think, whether it's creative choices that lead us to writing, which is a more traditional form of creativity that we've kind of labelled as traditional creativity, or whether it's painting, or whether it's just a creative way that you approach your life. It could just be a creative way that you get from A to B, a creative way that you heal. It's not just writing and drawing and dancing. It's we are all art. I really do believe that. Otherwise, we would be completely symmetrical. We'd be robots. We're all expressions of that.
Like our go-to when we're thinking about creative is writing, art, entertainment. But creativity really is just how we interact with the world around us and with ourselves as well.
Yeah, 100%. And I think we all have problems in our life because we're human beings, and it's. You can look at that with a creative mindset, or you can look at it with a negative mindset, or all of these different mindsets. And I think creativity is not just an act, it's a mindset.
But the mindset probably comes from consistently like loading up on that action. That what you said before about you used to kind of feel as though the world was happening to you instead of for you. What were the things? Was it that creative expression that kind of helped you shift that?
Yeah,
that mindset?
I think I read a book, Rebecca Campbell, Rise Sister Rise, and she speaks about transmuting what we label as negative emotion or anger or anything like that, transmuting it using, because it's all just energy, right? That's what I believe. Everyone's got their own beliefs. It's all just energy. And if you use that and you transmute it into something that can serve you, or, as a way of healing, a way of releasing, I think that is such a powerful thing. And I think that you can tell when you see a work of art that is like a true transmutation of pain or grief or even joy, not just the negative ones. I think that was a strong catalyst, I would definitely say. I think being quite honest and open, I had a string of absolutely car crash relationships, one after the other, the same pattern.
I couldn't tell already.
I mean, yeah, if you read that, it's pretty obvious. And I just kept thinking, why is this happening to me? Why am I getting the same pattern again and again? Instead of blaming these men or these people, that's such a waste of time blaming. You've got to honour the emotion, I believe. But I'd be like, how can I reframe this? Like, this is happening for me for a reason, and how can I reframe it? And here I am years later.
That's cool. Were you able to, I guess, take responsibility for kind of your part?
Yes,
well?
absolutely.
And be part of
this book, I speak about it really often, actually. It absolutely holds me accountable. It takes me fully out of my victim. It allowed me to reflect as I was writing. Nothing happens in isolation. A good friend told me that. Nothing happens in isolation.
I like that.
And no, it's true. It's all alchemy. And we're all responsible for our own actions, and usually I believe if it feels like something is happening to you, it's a lack of boundary or a boundary that hasn't been spoken. So that encouraged me to use my voice more. And it's just all of these things that I learned through writing and processing, and every situation is completely different, so I can't speak for everything, but I think that is a really powerful way to live if you acknowledge that we all have a choice. And
it means it's on you. It means it's not up to us.
Yeah, and it's so powerful.
It's so
it can be confronting, very confronting, because you've got to take responsibility for your own shit and your own triggers and your own patterns. But we all have a choice, and it's very powerful. It's so powerful because you get to choose whether you're in a situation or not. And sometimes you're like, oh, I'm in this situation, maybe I'll get another book out of it, but more often than not, it's not worth the pain.
And that's an interesting one. I was thinking about the question on the way up. I was like, so I figured you would have always been a writer, but were you always going to write a book?
I always wanted to. It was top of my bucket list. I think everyone's got a book in them. I really do believe that. So it's not that I didn't doubt that I had a book in me, but I just wondered what it was. And when I write poetry, I never began writing poetry with a book as an end game. It was just, it sounds crazy, and I say this because it's true. A lot of my book just came to me in meditation, like the name, the concept, everything. And I just think that however you believe about meditation or whatever you think, I think it's just being still and accessing your own intuition. You can frame it any way you want, but maybe meditation just allowed me to be still and access that. So
if someone came to you, maybe one of your classes, first time yogi, and they asked what's the go with meditation, how would you not sell it to them, but how would you kind of talk them through it and articulate it?
I think it's just becoming still. It's just getting still. And still not necessarily physically, because I believe that meditation can come in many different forms, movement, anything, but it's something that brings you back to yourself, brings you back to your intuition, brings you back to your body. That's a big one for me. And there's no right or wrong way to do it. I think
that's where a lot of people maybe go wrong, is there's that expectation, I should be still, or I should,
and that's such an interesting word. I should be able to sit still. I should be able to do that, and it places a lot of anxiety. And I think especially with yoga and meditation, it's just like, yes, there's right alignment and there's keeping your body safe. I'm sure you'll identify with that, but there is no right or wrong way, because again, yoga and meditation, they're just expressions of self. And how can somebody tell you that's right or that's wrong?
That's cool. I like that. Do you feel as though in the yoga world there's that superiority complex for certain areas of it, in terms of being able to allow anyone to come into it? Because I think it's something that, from someone that's come from a complete non-yogi background and have loved lots of different areas of it, there's definitely that feeling of I don't know what word I'm looking for. It's inability to kind of be vulnerable and dive into it without the feeling of being judged by people that have been doing it for long periods of time. And do it really well. I guess. But then I to be quite honest, which I'll always be, there was a period of my life that I did think that. It was very confronting coming from England, where the yoga scene, it's okay, to Melbourne, where it's everywhere, and it's incredible. It's like, kid in a candy shop kind of thing. But I think that there is definitely an element of that, but I guess it's all the way that you look at it. And I think things like that definitely brings, anytime you put yourself in a large community, large circles of people, it brings up your triggers and brings out your inner striver, like, am I doing it this right? And we all have projections on each other, I do believe that. But I think maybe there could be that. But I think I'm just very passionate about letting yoga and meditation just become so accessible, because I think it's becoming more, I feel as though it's becoming more accessible. It completely is. Melbourne is so incredible, and there's so many amazing teachers and amazing trainings, and I am definitely learning that it is the way that you look at things. You think you can either see it as that and be like, oh my god, I'm not very good at this, and I'm really intimidated by all these crazy incredible people, or you can just kind of be like, do you know what, really vulnerable, my practice might feel a bit shit to me, but that's my label. And I love Anna says it all the time, I love talking about being in the four corners of your mat, and it doesn't really matter what's happening outside of it. And if you get a glimpse of someone else doing something awesome, like, you look at it, appreciate it, process it, and then just back to the four corners. Because that's a practice, right? You could be triggered to hell with everyone in every situation, but that is the yoga, isn't it? It's not about, whether you can kind of stand on one hand or your head or whatever. That's awesome, that's incredible, but the practice is responding, not reacting, and that's something that I'm still learning. So I would definitely say I'm very passionate about making yoga accessible and just comforting and just making it lovely and a pleasant experience, because at the end of the day, it's bringing you home to yourself. Like, that's what it is. It's a practice. What makes a good yoga teacher? Oh, that's a question. I
somebody who is just able to hold space. And I know that that's a bit of a buzz phrase at the minute, but just allow me to be who I am in that moment. And I'm going to name drop unashamedly. Amelia, who runs Axis, is one of the most amazing people at just allowing people to be exactly who they are. And I think that's incredible. And I also really appreciate a teacher who is just consistently learning and just acknowledges that like yoga is a practice and we're all not going to know everything. And not only that, but life is a practice as well. And I think it's just... I almost can't put words to what a good teacher is. It's just a feeling, and it's also very personal. I think I don't think there are any bad teachers. I think everyone just connects with everyone differently.
I like that. I think we could take the word yoga out of that question. Exactly the same answer.
Exactly, yeah.
Someone who allows feeling and hold space. I think
oh my
really
God,
important.
it's you can't put words to it. I think it's amazing, and just that feeling of just being like, I'm having the worst day. Everything has gone wrong. But right now in this practice, I'm accepting me and I feel safe to accept me as well. I think that is probably the closest thing I can, or the closest experience I can explain to what a good teacher is.
How did you come to be one with the yoga space? Like, how was that?
Oh,
how
that's a story. So primarily I guess I partied a lot when I was in England. If you've ever been to England, particularly the north of England, we know how to party, or I did, don't party anymore. And through that, I realised I was kind of numbing myself, and I was going through intense periods of depression and anxiety, and really low points in my life. And the more I would go out and the more I would party, it would kind of numb it for the night or the weekend, and then these periods of anxiety and depression would get closer and closer together, and then all of a sudden I was just living under this black cloud, and I was just like, something's got to give. And I think a lot of people kind of come to yoga through this as well. So that's a kind of why it's got a special place in my heart, the community. And it was just like, something's got to give. And I just Googled yoga and I was terrified. It took me about 6 months to work my way up to getting to a studio, because I never had the strongest body. I'm pretty petite. I was in hospital with operations on my feet for a lot when I was a lot younger, and that kind of affects, your feet are your grounding, your legs and your hips, they're your stability. So I always felt a little unsteady, and, I still do now sometimes. But I was so intimidated. So I kind of set about doing home practice for about 6 months. And then finally I picked up the courage to go to the local yoga studio. And I'm so glad I did, because I got addicted, fully addicted. I did it every day for a few months. Well, I started it off once or twice a week, and then every day.
What were you afraid of between going from the home practice to the studio practice?
Oh, what will they think about me? I can't hold a tree pose. I'm going to be the wobbliest person in the room. I'm going to fall over. I'm going to make an idiot out of myself. I'm not flexible. I'm not strong. All of the self-sabotaging thoughts that anyone who's ever decided to try yoga has definitely had. I can't do this, I'm too weak, everything.
What would your advice be to someone that feels that way right now?
Just do it. Get out of your head. Get out of your head. Just do it, because there's always going to be someone else that is feeling like that. You might connect with them, or it's the four corners of the mat thing. When you first start, you don't really know that, but most of the people in the yoga classroom, they're so consumed in their stuff, their body, their breathing, that
we go through that in the gym a lot. People are so, people worry about what everyone else is thinking. Everyone is so worried about what's going on in their own space and their own body, to they don't give a fuck about what's going on. We want them to give a fuck about you as a person, but in terms of the way you look or the way you're at, the way you're doing something,
it doesn't matter. Each to their own, completely. And I think that's a really good way of looking at, if you are self-conscious in life, it's like everybody's so bothered about themselves that they're not, bothered about you. And it's definitely get out of your head and just do it. That was a very intimidating experience for me, but now I'm here, and same as starting to teach in this lovely city where it's incredible, a very supportive community, but it's big and it's scary sometimes. So just do it. Why
did you move over? Or how did that I know there's a big question.
Big questions.
How did that all come about?
I very just intuitively had done yoga for about 6 months. I think it was probably about a year actually, maybe longer. And I was just like, I think I want to be a yoga teacher. And I had a lot of people in my life saying, be a yoga teacher, and I was like, you're crazy. At this point I think I'd done it for a year and a half, maybe 2 years, and I was like, I still can't do a tree pose. Like, I don't know why I'm so hung up on that pose. I still struggle now, but I was like, I can't do a tree pose. Why wouldn't anybody want to be a yoga teacher? My balance is terrible. And people were just saying, do it, and I felt it, and I was like, you know what, why not? And I don't like running from things that I'm scared of. I don't like to be scared of things. I like to just do them. Like, even, feel the fear and do it anyway. It was that. So I thought, all right, where next? And so I felt intuitively drawn to Bali. So I did my teacher training in Bali. I lived there for a few months. That was what an experience.
That'd be a culture shock.
Yes, from the north of England, Leeds, to Bali. That was an interesting experience. It was amazing. Got my heart broken there. That's when the string started. That's where the book started. But I really enjoyed my teacher training. I loved it. And then I came to Melbourne and I was like, I'm going to teach yoga. Got to Melbourne and oh my God, I've never lived anywhere like this. It's crazy. It is amazing, incredible, magical. Everyone does yoga. It's not really like that in the north of England.
I guess from obviously I grew up in Melbourne, so it's awesome to hear someone saying that, but for everyone from Melbourne, why is it so magical and wonderful, all those kind of things?
It's just, you can just talk about how you feel quite openly within the yoga community specifically, and fitness is just such a normal thing. People, it's okay to say, I don't drink and I want a green smoothie, and actually, please, can I have that dairy free? Without judgment. People are just like, yeah, cool. And when I left, it wasn't really like that in the UK. And I think it was more, like I say, we all have choices, and it was more to do with the situation I put myself in with the partying, and I just needed a break from that. And so I just felt intuitively drawn to come over to this side of the world, and it all kind of panned out as it did. So I'm very grateful for that.
What is it like living your life on the other side of the world?
That is a good question, because I think my friends back home, like, oh my God, she's living the dream, and I am. Most of the time. I'm very, very, very grateful for my life here, but oh my goodness, it is, I wasn't emotionally prepared for living life away from my family, away from my friends, away from my community, on a visa, which I still am on. It takes your grounding away. So if you're the kind of person that doesn't really need grounding or is quite grounded by nature, I think that's very exciting, but I need grounding, and I need my centre and my home comforts, and I do have an adventurous streak, absolutely, otherwise I wouldn't be here. But it is a little scary. You feel very vulnerable. It's things like you can't just go home to your mum and dad at the weekend. You've got to create your own family. But it's kind of cool because you get to choose the people that you want in your life, and you get to explore different personalities and figure out what works for you, and you build your own community. And I think that's been really lovely and really comforting. But it is, it's not as easy as it looks as just flying across the world setting up a life. And I thought it was going to take me 6 weeks to settle in, but it took me probably 6 months to a year.
How long have you been here for now?
2.5 years.
Yeah, that's incredible. Has it flown by? Or is it hasn't.
I feel like this is my home. It's interesting. This is probably the first place that I've lived that feels like home.
That's pretty powerful.
It is. It does. It's particularly Elwood. It's I feel very held by Melbourne and Elwood.
Yeah.
I do need to be near the sea though, near the ocean.
Well, we can see the ocean now. You guys can possibly hear it. It's,
I'm very, very lucky.
Good.
Yeah, it does. That's what I like. I like the smell of the sea. Yeah. I'm usually always got at least my feet in the sea every day, even through winter, the storms, everything. It just really grounds me. I think some people like the jungle or they like grass and trees. I'm just like, give me the sand between my toes. Yeah. There's most of that book was kind of written between floating around in Elwood Beach.
Very good. Like you mentioned community a lot, and I love that. And I think creating your own community kind of comes with two sides of the coin. One, you get to choose who you want to hang out with and who you want to be like, who you want to be around, and I think that's the most amazing part about coming to a new city is you can kind of go, well, okay, I just need to dive into it. And the other side of the coin is you have to be so vulnerable to actually let people in.
Oh my god, yes.
Talk me through that. Like, what was that experience like to be able? Because you don't just walk into a community and go, "Hey guys, I'm your friend now." Like, you've got to be vulnerable enough to let people in.
Love me.
Yeah.
Honestly, I was in a very bad place when I first got to Melbourne for that reason. I felt very isolated. I think I'd been floating around in Bali for a few months, which was amazing and magical, but it's kind of a bubble too. Oh, yeah. So I landed with both of my feet on the ground in the middle of a Melbourne winter in Fitzroy. And I just didn't know what to do. I was like, where do I start? But I'm a very big believer in synchronicity, and on the second day that I was in Melbourne, I took myself a coffee, took myself a brunch, and I met someone and she was like, I'm a yoga teacher too, do you want to come and do yoga at my house?
That's awesome.
And I met all of my friends there, some of which I'm still very good friends with, some of which we've kind of floated away from each other, which is lovely. The cycles, a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And through that, I've just met these people, incredible people. Some new people have come into my life, some have kind of floated away, but it's all quite organic and natural. And but you're right, you have to be very, very vulnerable and just be like, actually, like, do you want to go and get coffee? It's so daunting asking people on friend dates. Can I tell you that? Like, nobody talks about, like, everyone's so aware of like romantic dates, like, oh, I'm gonna ask this person to go for a drink, but if you've ever been in a situation where
you want to make new friends,
I really like you, please be my friend, and then you're like, do you want to get a coffee? Because I also don't drink, so that coming to a new city, so coming to a new city, I moved to a hostel first, and they were all just like, let's go out and get pissed, and old me like would be like, yes, let's go, I'll drink you under the table, but I was trying to kind of foster the things that were good for me, and so that was challenging. But it means that now, if I go to bed at 9:30, my friends are like, see you in the morning for brunch. So
and that's it. And I think having those friendship dates as coffee dates means that, like, you can't be 3 drinks in and need that for your inhibitions to be lowered for you to be vulnerable, right? You have to just put yourself
there.
This is me, what's and all.
This is me, and sometimes this is me before coffee. Like,
we've all been there.
Exactly.
Plus, you've come to the best place in the world for coffee. So
that is true. Helps. I have. Yes, I never really drank coffee before I came to Melbourne, so I wouldn't say addiction, but I think actually, let's just be real brutal about that. I'm addicted. So
coffee doesn't count as an addiction.
I know, it's a way of life. It's part of my blood now. I think.
I need to drink water. I need to drink coffee.
Yeah, that's
Whatever
it.
Else
Nothing else.
Happens.
Yeah.
I love that. I want to talk about your book.
Yes.
Where did the name come from to start with? Because it's obviously the first thing anyone that sees your book will see.
Yes. So I guess I've always been really passionate about feeling into my body, because I haven't always felt connected to my body. I found it very easy to meditate or, access the kind of, I could meditate for an hour or whatever. But in terms of feeling into my body and being fully present in the moment and grounded, both feet on the floor, I am here, I am safe, that has been a challenge. And when I feel things, I feel quite deeply. I'm a very passionate human, and it's taken me a long time to honour that in myself, to acknowledge it, and to be proud of it as well. And I think when we feel in our body. And so there's a few reasons, to be honest, but the main reason that the book is called Anatomy is because the cycles that we go through in our life. When I wrote the book, I wrote it about the cycle of relationships. But when I thought about it more deeply, is that whatever we do in our life, anything, whether it is a job, a project, a relationship with a person, a romantic relationship, a friendship, anything, the cycle of a plant, anything, it's a cycle, and it's not, it's just, we feel. So the anatomy is broken into hips, heart, knees and spine. So the cycle is, we lust, so that exciting phase, that exciting part of a relationship or a project or anything that you get so fired up and passionate about. And then the next part of the cycle, I feel, is that you fall in love with it. So that excitement, all of those heady feelings, you settle into your heart and you really feel things in your heart. And then more often than not, in whatever way you look at it, sometimes we fall, however you want to phrase that, and that's the knees.
Yeah.
But then the beautiful part of that is that there's always going to be the rising, which is the spine. And so I guess it came from feeling everything so deeply in my body, and I would feel these emotions, these breakups, this disappointment, this love, this like crazy lust. I would feel it all in different parts of my body. And I just thought, this has to be it, because each of those poems just falls into these chapters, so you can tell that that's the place that I wrote from. And I do, we've got to honour those cycles of life. We can push them away, it's similarly that I believe that we all live through seasons as well, so you could look at it through that kind of cycle as well. I just believe that we're cyclical creatures and nothing is forever,
I think the main thing, when I kind of like obviously seen bits and pieces of it, Anna talks about it all the time, but when I finally sat there and I just sat there, read it back to front, the one theme that kind of kept coming up for me that you were expressing was impermanence, and how important it is that whether you're feeling a certain way or you're doing something or something's happening, that it'll last for a period of time and then the next thing will come along.
Yeah.
I think that was the main kind of, it was a roller coaster. And I loved it.
Yes, I'm glad.
But that just importance of understanding that things don't last forever, and the impermanence of it.
Yeah.
Even feeling like emotions are obviously really short, but then relationships and friendships
everything
and life.
That's
just get out of love, right?
Exactly. And I think I'm glad that you picked up on that, because that was a big intention of mine. It was, sometimes, especially when you're moving countries, you just cling on to stability. You're like, oh my God, this person, this thing, this routine I've got, I need it to stay the same. Please just give me that. And the reality is nothing. We're all nature, we're all energy. Energy doesn't stay the same. It moves, it flows. And I think if you expect it to stay, or you're trying to control something, it becomes stagnant. And I think that relationships, they fluctuate. Speaking from my experience, the people around me, and it's not to say that everybody's going to break up, but it's like you do go through those cycles where you feel those things about someone, then you love them, and then they piss you off a little bit, and then you grow together. And it's not just about relationships, it's just honouring, say you just lost your job, that was a big part of the book as well for me. Something that I was very passionate about kind of fell apart, and it wasn't a person, it was connected to a person, but it was a project of mine, a business. And I looked at it with the anatomy eyes, and I was like, it helped me heal from it, because I was like, I've talked the talk, I've got to walk the walk now and honour that and heal this experience.
It's almost like an accountability piece, right? Like if no one ever read it, it'd still be an overwhelmingly successful part of your life, because it
100%. And I say this book holds me accountable for every single thought that comes into my mind, every word that comes out of my mouth. everything I do, every decision I make, I take a breath. What would the book do?
I like that.
What would the book do? And it means, it means a lot of things. It means that if I'm ever grumpy, haven't had my coffee, and I go to open my mouth and get impatient, which doesn't happen a lot, but, human, I stop and I think and I respond. If I'm ever going to get really angry with something, situation, if I'm stuck in traffic, it's like I stop, I think, and I respond. Patience, impermanence. I'm not going to be stuck in traffic forever. And it also stops me from playing small. That was a big part of the book. I was like, I want to write poems and words, or I have written these poems and words that are so fierce, so powerful, that encouraging other people to be empowered and stand in their power and speak fire and, be thunder and make waves. I want to write those words and I want to live that. And I want other people to live that too. And if I can encourage other people, or if I am to encourage other people to live like that, then I've got to do that too.
Yeah.
Stops me from shrinking away.
Yeah, that must be empowering, writing those words, feeling those words, and then having such a wide community of people resonate with it.
It's been incredible. Yeah, it has been humbling. I actually can't put words to it. It blows me away. And I think for the first kind of month, 2 months, even now, I still get tears in my eyes when I see people share, because I wrote the things that I did. It came so naturally to me, but I think I wrote them. I think something in me wrote them because that's what I needed to hear when I was going through this shit. And I think I just don't want anyone to feel alone, because let's be real, we all go through shit times, we all go through good times, but like you say, it's impermanent. Everything's a cycle.
Yeah, I think that whatever advice we give other people, we're just giving it to ourselves. Our previous version of ourselves.
I could not agree more. And it's if I am to empower other people, I've got to walk the walk. I've got to. I can't shrink. I can't be disempowered or a victim. It's all a practice, and it still is, and it will always be a practice. But it holds me accountable.
You're being the example.
Exactly. And I just think if one person reads one poem and it brightens their day, or they just feel connected, or they go, me too. That's all I care about.
And there's going to be times where you'll come full circle and you come back to that thing, and like you'll read it and you're like, I can't believe I wrote that.
I read a poem the other day. I read my own poem and was like, I really needed to read that. I was having such a shit day the other day. I was feeling sorry for myself. I was having a pity party, and I read the I Will Create Waves With My Body poem. It was so powerful. That's probably my favourite poem in the whole book. And I was like, I am here to be heard. I was like, I wrote this. I will not shrink away. Good thank you. Give myself a high five.
Because I've been trying to put out a little bit of writing lately. I look at the weekly email and stuff, and I re-put them all out as scheduled posts, and ones that from 12 months ago are coming back out now, and I'm just like, I wrote that.
Wow.
And I'll get a message from someone, that's exactly what I needed to hear, and I was like, that's exactly what I needed to hear.
Same.
6 months ago. So it's just we're on the same page. I think that's so important that everyone's going through their journey.
Oh my goodness. And everyone's at different stages, and I think I was talking to someone that the other day, I think I was kind of chatting about it in terms of seasons, but in terms of the book, some people are falling when some people are rising, and that's why I think comparison is so dangerous, because we're all in different seasons. We're not in sync. Some people are, in their full summer, they're blooming, they're rising, they're empowered, they're sassy, they've got all this attitude, and then somebody who's falling and feeling flat and disempowered is looking at that person, and it's making them feel worse. But it's just I think it's just honouring. We're all just floating around in space, essentially.
I'm a big quote guy, and I think whenever you say something like that, my brain just goes, I got that quote. One of my favourite ones is comparison is the thief of joy.
It so is.
And I think that if you're comparing your chapter 6 to someone else's chapter 20, you might be a book ahead of them, but because you're going through your own shit, you forget that, and we all forget that. We all forget that everyone struggles and everyone suffers, and I think it helps to know that. And when we do know that, then kindness just happens because we realise that everyone else is going through shit even if they're not showing it.
It's empathy and compassion, you know, as Brené Brown talks about. It's knowing that I'm here, you're there, I understand what you're going through. I'm not saying, you know, I'm enlightened, I can help you, I'm better than you, I've done more training.
Well, I don't know the answers, but I'm here to help you.
Yeah, it is.
Figure them out.
I don't know, but I'm here. And like a poem is, one of my poems that I wrote is like, I can't even remember it, that's so bad. But it's like hold me while I fix myself. Don't try to fix me. Be there, hold the space for me while I fix myself. Yeah. It's like, it's such a powerful thing.
And it's so hard to get out of that, I guess. It's an ego thing, right? Where someone comes to you with a problem and guys especially want to go, okay, let me try and fix it.
I'm going to fix it.
Yeah, I can fix that. Whereas, like, one thing people need is just, it's that, okay, I feel how you're feeling, like, I have that empathy. What do you need from me? If it's just support and not, you know, here's a 6-step list.
Yeah.
Check these boxes and you'll be fixed.
Here's a PDF.
Life doesn't work like that. And it's really hard. I find it really difficult to, as I guess a coach and a bit of teaching and stuff, I find it really difficult to not just try and give the answers and to be able to kind of step back and in front of my clients, in friendships, relationships, with stuff, and I want to kind of be like, okay, here's what you need to do. It never works like that. It doesn't work like that. And if you're able to acknowledge that and remind yourself of that, that's what I need reminding of it every day, but if you allow people to figure stuff out on their own, it might not be as quick, but it'll last forever.
Yeah, longevity. Yeah, that's it. And sometimes it's just as simple as like, I see you, I hear you, I'm trying to understand. Because sometimes we don't understand, but that's okay. Yeah, I really like that. And I agree. I think it's easy to want to come up with answers because it makes us feel needed, right? So we're like, oh yeah, you need me. But yeah, I think it's all a practice. I keep saying it's all a practice, but sometimes you dive in and speak, but listening is powerful. And we've all got that within us to.
Talk me through your definition or your understanding or your version of seasons. Is it something that's come up a little bit in the last year and a bit?
With my cycles. Yes. So seasons is just, for me, in terms of life, I just see the phases that we move through. And I guess using the traditional phrase of seasons, I think, again, I read it in a book, Rebecca Campbell, she's an absolute legend. She introduced that idea to me, is that, you know, spring is often where we're kind of blooming and it's the excitement, and then the summer where it's like, you know, you just have to look down to the beach at summer, everyone's excitable, everyone's out there doing things, they're living their purpose,
the sun,
they're just happy. And then autumn is like when you want to go inward, and I'm a bit of an introvert, so I guess maybe I spend a bit more time in my autumn or my winter. But it's hard, it's challenging when you're in your winter and you've got someone next to you who's in their spring, and you can see them headed into summer and they're blooming and they're blossoming, and you're like, oh God. The best thing I did today, or the most productive thing I did, was like get out of bed and make myself breakfast. Like, and they're like running their business, they're making loads of money, they're doing all of these things, they're like kicking their goals, and I'm like, I just made myself brunch today and a cup of coffee. You know,
not the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, I mean, that's still great, but you know. Yeah. And I did feel that a lot of this year, and I think a lot of it's gone into my book, and I guess I tried to honour the seasons within the way that I write the chapters of anatomy, the knees, and the rising.
I think it's incredibly descriptive the way you kind of set out those chapters.
Thank you.
Yeah, because I think it probably wasn't until I read the whole thing and you kind of see how it all fits together. Just like, okay, again, this is like, I kind of like, I think I must have said, it's a full body of work.
Yes.
That was really cool.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because it's one of the reasons that I didn't send it off to a publisher initially, is because they would ask for 10 poems, and I was like, it's like choosing children. Like, this is meant to be read together or dipped in and out of, but it's meant to be had in its whole. And so I couldn't do it. I think I sent a few poems off, but I did it so half-heartedly that
What was the process like getting it self-published? And I assume it would have probably taken longer and cost more than you expected.
It was actually quite... The cost side of things is really good because it's print on demand, and I would definitely encourage anyone, if they're thinking of self-publishing, definitely do it. There are a lot of platforms. I used Amazon because it was recommended to me, and I'd seen other poets progress through that. However, the writing was incredible, the formatting and the image quality and everything that I'm just not qualified to do. Oh my goodness, that's when my community came in handy. One of my good friends, Matt, I used to live with him, he just moved out. He is an art director. He is the reason that my cover and my page 4, the back of the book exists and looks as good as it does.
Looks incredible. And
I would also love to give a big shout out to Susie as well, who all of the drawings, all of the illustrations in there are hers. I feel like I have potentially glossed over that, but the reason that anatomy is a beautiful body of work is really, really down to some of the drawings that she did. And Susie did those without a brief. I said, this is my concept. I want it split into hips, heart, knees, spine. I want the anatomical structures, but I want them to look beautiful. That was her brief. And she smashed it.
She did a pretty good job.
She made a knee look beautiful. I would just like to say mad gratitude. Yeah, I know. I mean, they're great, but they're not the most beautiful part of the body. Each to their own. But I had a strong community. There's no way that I could have done this book on my own, so I'd just like to take this moment to say thank you to those people.
Was it easy to ask for help?
No. I was like, I can do everything on my own. I don't need anyone. I will try my best. Probably not that aggressively, but I was like, I'm going to do this. I'm doing it. And then I was like, you've got to ask for help. And there was so much vulnerability in that. Poor Matt. Oh my goodness. The amount of times I went back to him and said, can you just change this cover? Can you do it like this? Can you change the size? Can you just move this? It was terrifying because I was having to use my voice. And you think the hardest part about writing a book is the thought of putting it out there and publishing it. No, it's the going back to the designer and the artist and saying, can you? And I had to stop myself from saying, can you just? Take the word just out and say, would you be able to? Because it's not just. And it was things like that made me realise that I had to practice using my voice, the language that I was using.
It's like you've had to use your voice in putting the book together, and then you've had to use your book to make it actually become put together.
That was the hard part. And the self-doubt, my goodness. The reason I think I mentioned before we started live was that the self-doubt and the self-criticism and the nobody's going to want to read this. Oh my goodness. That's the reason it took so long, if I'm completely honest. I had days where I was like, this is going in the bin. I'm not publishing it. No way. It's too personal. Nobody's going to relate. I've got a purpose behind it. I've got an intention behind it, but it doesn't matter. People are going to laugh. Same as when I started yoga. People will laugh at me. That was a big fear. And also, I have a very big fear I live in my too much sometimes. So a lot of the time through my life, it's too intense, too much, rein it in. And I write about that a lot because I never want to use that language about anyone, and I don't want anyone to hear that because there's never too much. We're all exactly as we're supposed to be. Intensity and passion, we never get anything done.
We're almost taught to kind of like dull that down and bring it back, and it's just when we're kids, it's don't be that kid that's like running around, jumping around and expressing themselves. You want to be sitting in the classroom and doing all the same as everyone else. I think that's incredibly, you use the word powerful a lot today, but it's incredibly powerful to be able to go, well, this is what I want to express, this is who I am, this is me being the ultimate version of me. Who cares?
Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it. That's a good
and that is step up or step aside. It's 100%, and it took a lot for me to get to that mindset of like, this is me, this is who I am, this is a full expression of myself. It's the most vulnerable thing I've ever done, the most courageous thing I've ever done, and you either like it or you don't, and that's okay, and I am truly okay with that. If people buy my book and they never read it, or it gathers dust on the bookcase, I don't care. If people say to me, I don't like it, I'm like, cool, alright. Nobody has yet, but there's always, everyone resonates differently with different things, different poets, different words. It's incredible, and I think you're so right, like kids running around, I've become much more mindful of the times when I was told to be quiet, sit down, stay still, and that was part of the writing process as well, because a lot of that came up, like it's like shine but not too brightly.
Well, and I think, I don't know if you've seen it here, but we've got such a tall poppy syndrome, and it's so frustrating because so many people are not expressing themselves fully, and I go through the same stuff, and that imposter syndrome and that feeling like I'm not good enough, and what I want to share people don't want to hear. And I think when you get past that, because it's just ego, right? Like you get past that ego and come from to steal part of your book, like come from that heart and be able to just express. And if someone picks it up and loves it, that's awesome. If someone picks it up and hates it, awesome. If someone doesn't pick it up at all, awesome. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because you're doing it for you. It's
100% for me, this book. I said my intention was I want people to feel less alone. If that's one person, great. If it's 100, great. If it's 1,000, great. And it's for me, and it's my expression, and it's me finding my voice, and I think that's really powerful, because we are told to be quiet and pipe down quite a lot.
Way too much.
It's too much. Absolutely. It is my expression of me, and we all express ourselves differently, and if I can encourage that in another human, then great.
That's a win.
That
I guess want for people to like it is obviously going to be there during the process. Was there a period of time where you were really struggling with that no one's going to read it, or that no one's going to like it, and what did you do to kind of bring yourself to the place you are now?
Yes, there was probably about a period of 3 or 4 months earlier this year, maybe February, March time, where I just put it aside for 3 or 4 months. I had so much on my plate, and I was making excuses. So for me, I find that doubt doesn't manifest as doubt because I'd be able to catch it. It manifests as making myself so busy that I burn out. And that I'm too tired, I can't do that, I've got to look after myself, I can't do everything. So that happened I was working every day, and I used the excuse I'm saving for a visa so that I can study. But then I realised when I got still, and I got sick a few times as well, burnout, it happens, when I had that moment where I was forced to reflect because I physically couldn't get out of bed. I was like, this is me self-sabotaging. This is my version of self-sabotage. This is me saying to myself, I can't do it. Well, I would have none of that. I'd be like, that's bullshit. Of course I can do it. But it manifests as me filling my plate too much and me being too busy so that I don't progress in anything. So that happened for about 3 or 4 months, and I used the excuse of I need money and I need to save up and I need a traditional job. And that's fine. It helped me, and I'm here, stable with my student visa, which is lovely. But I was able to recognise that, and so yes, I would say that was the fear for me. But then the fear of not doing it overrides the fear of what would people think. The fear of regret, I think, for me, is the overriding one.
I like that. What's next in terms of writing or whatever?
What's next? I'm already writing book number 2,
which is awesome.
I'm very excited. I'm loving the whole creative process of that. I am the crazy person that runs out of the room with a pen in my hand or my phone on the notes page. The number of public transport stops I've missed because I've been so engrossed in the notes part of my phone. I'm just a bit crazy at the minute. Everything is revolving around writing, Yes, but I'm loving it. I feel a little crazy and very sensitive as well. I know when it's time for me to write, when I'm feeling sensitive to everything.
Yeah.
And when I get like a big bubble kind of building up through, it comes like through my heart and into my throat, and I'm like, what do I do with this? What do I do? When I can't sleep, that's when I know. And so I was like, all right, universe, I hear you, I'm writing. So that's next. I don't know what it's going to look like yet. I'm staying open to that. I'm sure it will come to me. And also I'm really passionate about obviously yoga, teaching yoga as well. So I would like to combine creativity or encouraging people to use their expression through yoga, maybe some workshops. I would love to combine my two passions. And I already kind of infuse words and my poetry into my classes, I guess, and that empowerment and that impermanence that I'm pretty passionate about, and people finding their voice and just being who they are. I guess that kind of comes through my classes, but I would like to consciously combine the two, maybe into workshops. But there's definitely going to be a book 2. And
watch the space.
Yeah, I will write and write and write, and hopefully there's a book 2, 3, 4, 5. I will always write, and there will always be more, whether
cool.
1 people or 1 million read it.
Yeah, and that's a cool way to look at it, because you're doing it for yourself.
It's for
but
me.
I can imagine like book 2, the process would be so foreign to book 1.
It is weird knowing that I am writing these poems because they're going to end up in a book. Most of the poems in Anatomy didn't know they were going to be in a book, so it was just free flowing. There is that pressure, and I really identify with I've never been a musician, but I can identify with musicians where they have to do the follow-up album. This is what it feels like. I've been so lucky with the reception of Anatomy that I am shitting myself a little bit, but then I come back to the reason that I'm doing it is not for anyone else, and that soothes me, and it's been very smooth flow of creativity, so I am very grateful for it. And universe, if you're listening, please send me some more creativity. Always grateful for that.
I'm sure it'll come. Nothing 5 espressos down at Elwood Beach.
Completely wired, writing until 4 a.m.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. I want to read that.
It happens sometimes.
I've got a couple of questions for you to finish off.
Okay.
You can dive into these or take them wherever you want to take them. Mm-hmm. What are you most proud of?
The courage that I cultivated to put this book out here. It was not easy. It was like pulling teeth. All of my triggers came up. I was in tears. I was crying with self-doubt some days. Can't do this. Don't want to do it. Numbing myself through busyness, usually. And I am so proud that I have finished something start to finish. And I have not only done that, but I've not hidden it away. And I guess I'm proud of myself consistently. And I could never have said that before. Because it's every day. And if a few days go by where I haven't done something to do with my book or my writing, I check myself before I wreck myself. No, I do. I tap into that courage every day, every other day. If I'm dulling myself, if I'm not hitting my potential, I kindly and compassionately check in with myself, and I'm proud of that, because this wouldn't have happened a few years ago. I would have probably just gone out and got pissed.
And you're holding yourself to your own standard.
I am absolutely holding myself accountable, and it means drawing boundaries where I would have previously drawn boundaries. It is telling people to step up or step aside, like I read about. It is reminding myself that I've got a voice, because I've shown so many people that I do. So I have to, yes.
What are you most confident about?
I can honestly say I am confident in my writing.
Cool.
I love it. And it is probably... And actually, also that I'm a good yoga teacher. And like we said, good yoga teacher, everyone's a good teacher. We all teach each other things, right? Yeah. But I'm confident in everything that I'm doing for probably one of the first times in my life, actually. And I think that's why I love my life so much. So, yeah, I'm confident in my ability as a writer and a yoga teacher. And hopefully just a nice human being. That would be nice, wouldn't it? Yeah.
What are you most excited for?
I am excited for lots of little things. I'm excited for book number 2. I'm excited for summer. on the beach.
Oh yeah.
Yes, I'm very excited for summer. I've got a few exciting things lined up that I can't talk about yet, unfortunately. Sorry to tease, but yeah, and I'm excited for the future. And I think, having been quite an anxious person before who's terrified of the future and I need to know what happens, I think that is a personal breakthrough of mine, so I'm very happy about that.
Awesome. I've got a favour to ask.
Yes.
Can you read me some of your favourite
Yes, I would love to.
Parts of anatomy?
Can I read my favourite one? Let me find it. I
can't
even find it.
You mentioned before that you do have a favourite one, and I wasn't sure if you would.
Yes, it's when I can find it, I've completely forgotten my pagination. All right, you ready?
Ready.
I am not here to tiptoe and whisper sweet nothings. I am here to create thunder with my lungs, waves with my body, fire with my words, lightning with my heart. I will not be silenced for your comfort. I was not put on this earth to impress you. I am here to be heard.
Thank you very much. That was incredible.
Thank you.
How can people buy that, find you, all that kind of stuff?
They can find me on Instagram. I am at Franks Martin. They can buy my book. If you're in Australia or New Zealand, it's on www.franksmartin.com. If you're in the UK listening, or America, I'm on amazon.co.uk or amazon.com.
Awesome.
And actually in Europe as well, if anyone's in Italy or Spain.
That's ace. Thank you so much for giving me your time.
Thank you so much. It has been an absolute pleasure.
Lovely work.